ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? I'm going to make it short and sweet. I've got a little bit of an issue with my OBS. So let me see if this works. Ladies and gentlemen, can you see me? Can you see me? Oh, man. I don't know why this is working like this, man. I hope it's flipped over. Come on. Good afternoon, guys. What's happening? Got a bit of a problem with my OBS. I don't understand why it's doing this. There we go. It looks like it's working right now. All right, then. Let me just flip everything over. Yes, 8K Bitcoin. Yes. I'm going to be using this stream right now to help you guys understand my narrative of why this could be the case. All right? Bit of a mad morning for me, ladies and gentlemen. I've been stressing out with OBS. I'm not able to align it up and do a broadcast properly, but we are where we are, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting myself ready for that FOMC. So today, you're not going to see much movement going into New York, ladies and gentlemen. That's the truth. They're all anticipating the FOMC, which will be happening today, 6 p.m. UK time, which is just shy of about 4 hours, 4 hours. No, yeah, 3 hours. No, 5 hours time. Okay? And we'll be going live for the FOMC, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring that fire to you all. Well, I'll be going live 20 minutes before the FOMC releases its statement. And we'll be live during the FOMC press conference. And now I'm going to be diving into the idea of why Bitcoin 8K. Now, listen. You've got to hear me out with this. I never, ever put out the idea of price. But I'm going to justify why I believe we may see Bitcoin at 8K. To the crypto enthusiasts, never. It will never happen. To the holders, happy days. I get Bitcoin cheaper. It's all perspective, ladies and gentlemen. And the idea that I'm coming from is to help you understand why interest rates are going to be a problem for tech stocks. Tech stocks operate on the principle of long-term value. So value-based tech stocks, long-term growth. If things in the long term aren't looking good, interest rates being increased, that's going to have an impact on tech stocks that rely solely on growth. Okay? Now, you've got some tech stocks that don't really have that growth. They have the short-term growth. But tech stocks like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Dell, okay? These are companies that rely on activity to happen in the economy. Because the more people that are working, the more companies are going to need services, all right? So imagine you start your own company up. You need internet, you need computers, software, you need to employ people, programmers, web developers. You need to get guys coming in, electrical engineering, feed off all that Cat 5 across or Cat 6 across the building so you got yourself a network with the idea that that investment is going to be generated as a return in the longer term. But if interest rates are being increased, ladies and gentlemen, and there's not an indication by the Fed that there could be a cap. I mean, Goldman Sachs talking about 5% in March. Google has already missed its earnings. Apple's done the same thing. Microsoft's doing the same thing. All the big players are starting to miss their estimates. That only leads to one thing. Bonds go down, yields go up, assets across the board drop. Now you might think, Tino, you are mad, bro. 8K Bitcoin, it's impossible. But I'm looking at it in the longer term, and one important aspect of the system that we use, the hybrid system, liquidity. Not just liquidity, volatility. Now, as of late, Bitcoin hasn't been as volatile as the S&P and the Nasdaq. That only means, I mean, look, GBP USD, pound sterling was more volatile than Bitcoin. Now, we can get all caught up in the idea, look, it's impossible for Bitcoin to go to 8K. We've got the idea of the rainbow cycle, okay? You've got all these whales. You've got all sorts happening across the board. Listen, Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down. You want to try and exploit that in terms of trading, you search for movement. That's all you care about. Like I said, Bitcoin could be 0.1. We would still be able to trade it. People trade Shiba, people trade XRP, people trade all sorts of altcoins that are nowhere near 1 cent. What I'm trying to get at you guys is this. You can't ever say never. You can't say that the market can't do one thing, because it can. And my goal today is to help you understand that. It doesn't look like price action is going to be making that much of a move during the New York live stream, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to use this time to educate you or bring some light to your mind to help you understand the other side of the coin. The coin. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a conversation. All right. Are we good? Are we all good? Listen, I had a conversation last night with Mike and Pesh. We're talking about the idea of where do we think the bottom is in? I ain't saying no bottom, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about a projection. Now, look, you got people across the board that will throw out wild figures, okay? 100K Bitcoin, 200K Bitcoin. That kind of gets lost in the scene. But then if it were to happen, there'll be a massive song and dance. Mark my words. If Bitcoin hits 8K, I ain't saying a single word. And that's the truth. Because for me, it's only doing what I anticipate it to do. And if I believe that Bitcoin can get to 8K, some of you might think, forget this guy. What is he chatting about? Well, 20K right now is kind of closer to 8K than what 100K Bitcoin is from 20K. How much of a move does Bitcoin need to make to get to 100K? How much money needs to come back into crypto to get to 100K? There's more of a chance of money leaving the market than there is money coming in. And given the current circumstances right now, if interest rates are going to be increasing and there's not really a cap on the rate of increase, based on what we know right now, ladies and gentlemen, I could be wrong. Bitcoin could be holding out at this 20K zone, ladies and gentlemen. Happy days. Then I would be on the idea that Bitcoin is the greatest hedge for inflation. But there's no end on where we could be on inflation. They said only last week, yeah, inflation might have come down a little bit, but it could be a retractment. The only way we're going to understand if inflation can really come down is if employment figures do start showing that people are out of work. The only company that I can hear that has actually let people off, okay, is Twitter. Now, you've got to remember, during back in 2007, 2008, at that time, there was about 9 million people unemployed. That was quite a high figure. We haven't got that problem right now. Fed wants unemployment rate to be at least 6% for them to really start thinking about the idea of how do we stimulate the economy again, with the idea potentially of quantitative easing, and start smacking up the printer again. Ladies and gentlemen, take it with a pinch of salt, but I'm going to dive into why Bitcoin could have hit the 8K zone. Quite a while ago in the channel, ladies and gentlemen, I was talking about the idea of the vector candle. Well, for anybody new to the channel, the vector candle is what you see in front of you. It's a candlestick which can be red, green, or blue, or violet, or pink, which is an indication that the only force that can move price like this is if the market maker who's in control of the liquidity supply that allows you to buy and sell is moving the price. So you see this move right here, ladies and gentlemen. Nah, that isn't getting done by a retail trader. That's being achieved by market maker making the retail trader think it's going to go lower. Funnily enough, we look to the left of the chart, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the green vector candle region right there where Mr. Market Maker brings price back down and comes into the liquidity. Now, I don't know if any of you are going to brave it enough, but if you guys have been watching the old streams that I did back in the day, I pulled up a stream I pulled up a chart on the idea of the vector candles. If the vector candle comes back on the 1 hour time frame, if the vector candle can come back on the 10-hour time frame, if the vector candle can come back on the 21-hour time frame, if the vector candle can come back on the daily time frame, if the vector candle can come back on the 3-day chart and the vector candle comes back on the weekly chart, ladies and gentlemen, then tell me why the vector candle can't come back on the monthly time frame. Tell me why. The stopping volume candle principle down at the lows of 4,339. Now, that would be a shock to the system. But tell me why on the weekly chart itself, we have ourselves 13,000 Bitcoin down here, and we have got vector zones in this region right here, which is the 4K zone. And if we go even closer on the daily time frame, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that Bitcoin has a vector candle region smack bang at the 12, and of course, down at the 8. Tell me why we wouldn't see that. So if we look at this, Bitcoin's volatility is huge, yeah? You don't really see Nasdaq moving this big or S&P moving this big on a normal day-to-day basis. Bitcoin is and always will be the volatile asset, okay? It doesn't have that much of a market cap when you think about it. Crypto altogether, market cap, what is it? Let's have a look. Crypto market cap in total, less than $1 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah? You've got stocks that are just shy of like 150 to $300 billion worth as a market cap. Cryptocurrency is 962 billion. The yield, the treasury markets, they're 100 trillion. The UK treasury markets is only 2 trillion. So you can see that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency market cap is pretty dead. It's quicker for them to take money out than it is to put back in. How many of you are going to have more of an inclination to go and buy something of value? You scrutinize value before you accumulate it. But when things aren't looking good, without hesitation, there's no scrutiny there. You don't start thinking, but well, maybe what if I do start buying more, given that it is going cheaper? You see, the holder of Bitcoin or the guy who wants to accumulate crypto, he's going to be thinking, Bitcoin's cheaper. Maybe my DCA strategy, I might be in a little bit of a pickle if I've been picking up Bitcoin from the best part of, say, for example, 40K. If I've been picking it up from 40K and it continues even lower down to 8K, I mean, 8K is closer to 20K. 20K is, I'm still scrolling, ladies and gentlemen, 100K. I don't want to give you any false pretenses or make you understand something and hype you up into believing that Bitcoin could go to 100K or to 8K. I'm trying to get you to understand the logic. In the longer term, if interest rates, whether it takes Bitcoin 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4, to get to a significant point where we actually believe that Bitcoin could hold and continue back up, kill the idea of fear in the markets, happy days. It's too soon to be talking about a bottom, ladies and gentlemen. We don't even know if the Fed has peaked out on its interest rates. They can't get the labor market down. If the labor market today and on Friday, with the non-farm payrolls, still shows that people are earning more money per hour, people are claiming less on the benefit, Fed still might actually be a little bit more aggressive. See, Goldman Sachs said 5%. JP Morgan ain't saying much. Morgan Stanley ain't saying much. But Goldman Sachs, based on the statistics, says that 5% could be the point. And by March, where will Bitcoin be? Because if the Fed increases the interest rates, well, it will increase the interest rates today. That's 75 basis points, which will take us to around the 3.754 mark. Then December comes along and they look to reduce it, which could take it to about 4.5%. Okay? 50 base points. Then the next meeting after that could take it to 5. But what we've got to remember, guys, that's in the future. We want to see how the market reacts to it now. So could Bitcoin roll over in today's price action. Roll and break this region down to the lows, come back up and bring it back into the consolidation zones. You see, like I said to you all, it's okay for us to assume that as traders of the hybrid system, we expect Bitcoin to move up to a vector candle on the 1 hour, the 5 minute, the 10 minute. Why is it any different on the monthly or the weekly? We look at the 3-day chart, ladies and gentlemen, okay? We've got vectors down at 14. We've got vectors down at 12. We've also got vectors, the very small vector at 9.6. We've also got a vector down at 7.7. We've also got this vector at 5.5. And we also have this stopping volume candle at 4.5K. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? It's madness. Like, let's be honest now. It's crazy to think that an asset that hit a high of 67 nearly is now looking with the potential to come back and test these zones. Like I say to you all the time, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin looks like it got listed on PancakeSwap and they've just done the liquidity run. Okay? But this might take time. And it's all going to be based on what's going to happen. There is already talks that a global food crisis could lead us into a recession. We've got problems with energy. Now, I'm not trying to startle you, ladies and gentlemen, get you concerned about the idea that it's all going to go to shit. Sorry, I'm just being straight with you. By the principle of the hybrid, where I expect vectors to be recovered at a particular point, I anticipate that that could be the zone that Bitcoin ends up at. That means, where in my mind can I think that more people are going to buy Bitcoin now than they are at 8K? Are more people buying Bitcoin? You see the guys on Twitter pulling out a whale just transferred 10,000 Bitcoin to Coinbase, to Binance, to Bybit or whatever. And everyone's like, oh, here we go. Get ready for a dump. Get ready for a drop. Let's look at the logic, ladies and gentlemen. It makes sense. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm bold enough to come out onto the YouTube and say that this could be a point that Bitcoin gets to. Does that mean you just go blindly on the shorts? No, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how this works. Because if you were to go on the break of 20K, all right, and run a short from 20K, the moment it broke, okay, you would have seen a little bit of movement down to 17, but it snapped all the way back up and went above to 25. You would have been a bit of a problem now, wouldn't you? The only way that we can verify the continuation towards that zone is this structure, ladies and gentlemen. This is the market cycle, okay? This is what it is, and it works on all time frames. So let's just take it on the 3-day chart, ladies and gentlemen, and look at what we have right here. Where can you sense a W or this structure? May not be perfect, but the narrative would suggest rise up, retrace, rise up, retrace, rise up, big drop, rise up, drop, retrace, drop, retrace, drop. The principle says. All right? That's what you're trying to gauge. Now, we draw it nice and smoothly for the nature of demonstration. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, the behavior in the marketplace can always change. Okay? I want to run a poll with you. Let me run a poll. I want to know where you guys are at. Wait there. Here we go. Let's engage with you guys. Start a poll. I want to ask you, based on what I've just said, how many of you go with the idea, Bitcoin, 8K, yes or no? Where's your heads at? Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to pull up some charts, okay? Just to understand where we are collectively in relation to the Fed, okay? Here we go. Right. Let's just go into the 1 hour time frame for a split second, ladies and gentlemen, and understand where we are. This is why I say to you guys, do not trade news announcements. Look at this. This is dead. Nothing. Sad. Compression of the moving averages. Doing nothing. Where are you getting movement? Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. Got people in the market maker tier in the Patreon that trade the 5 and 10 second charts. This is like heaven for them. But to the average trader who's coming into the game of trading, right now, he's stuck in this zone waiting for Bitcoin to go up or down. Right now, market maker has got people all messed up on the idea that it could go up on the news, it could go down on the news, and there is a plethora of data, or should I say orders coming into the charts, ladies and gentlemen. This is the book map itself, and you can see if I keep zooming out and zoom out even more, I'm getting more and more orders being built above and below these key zones. And as I keep rolling out with the charts, ladies and gentlemen, just on the limit orders of Bitcoin in Binance, all right, the range that we see the liquidity with commitment right now is between just below the 20K zone, all right, and just above the 20,700 region, okay? There's a lot of compression inside of this zone. And when we zoom into it, we kind of get the idea of who's buying, who's selling, but we've got this stagnant movement in the charts. Look at it. It's like a lot of traders getting trapped, trying to make sense of where it's going to go, okay? Let me have a look at this poll right here. Let's see. Okay, look at that, man. 792 of you have declared Bitcoin to 8K, yes. Bitcoin to 8K, no. 50%, we are even. You know? This is it. Why can't Bitcoin, this is what I get, this is what I don't get, okay? Why can't Bitcoin go to 8K? Then why can't it go to 100? Do you see what I mean? We are indefinite. Bitcoin can't go to 8K. No. Bitcoin can't go to 12K. It will not breach 12K. Who the fuck are we? Let's be honest. We are just merely a collection of people disagreeing on whether Bitcoin should be up or down. It's money, ladies and gentlemen. Liquidity. As it stands right now on Binance on, let's just go on the yearly chart. Okay? Excuse me, I'm swearing. I shouldn't be swearing. I'm just getting a bit heated up about this all. But just look at this. Right now, the liquidity says at 17K, there is $225 billion worth of longs sat at 17,600. What a payday. What an interesting payday that would be for Mr. Market Maker. Keep pricing in and around the key 20K zone. Psychologically, everyone's hooked on the 20K. Listen, I'm not doing this because I don't like Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. It's a fruit job. It's mad. Gives me wicked volatility when it needs to. And I might be pulling on some people's heartstrings here. Not heartstrings, but I might be touching a nerve with people. But if it can't go to 8K, then it can't go to 100K. Why can't it go to 8K, but it can go to 100K? And this is where we get in that paradigm shift, and we're thinking to ourselves, well, ultimately, if it can go to one point against the other, why should I not believe that it can't go there? And why should I not believe it can go to 100K? Like, I'm not ridiculing or trying to take the mick out of anyone that says Bitcoin to 100, 200, or 300. Fair play. They're calling out price points based on the utility of crypto and Bitcoin itself. You see, we work on the idea of 21 million as a supply. Okay. So then Bitcoin in principle is behaving, or it should be acting like a commodity. Yeah? Bitcoin is a commodity. Gold is a commodity. Silver, commodity. Oil, commodity. We're already having problems with the OPEC cutting the supply out because it's a commodity. Oil is a commodity. So why is Bitcoin not the same principle? All right, we haven't fully mined everything. We don't have the full supply out. I get all of that. But we have enough to proclaim a commodity. Do you see what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Like, Bitcoin's utility in the future could lead to the prospect of 100K. The endorsement of cryptocurrency looking like it's going to endorse the idea of Bitcoin going to 100K. I'm all for it. But why should I get the backlash if I say Bitcoin to 8K? Nah, ain't happening, bro. Nah, no chance. Never. Who are we? The price of Bitcoin is the reflection of whether you or me agree that the price it should be at that point in time. Right now, all of us agree that Bitcoin is at 20,413 and increasing, decreasing. We've got news announcements coming out very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, or going in. Well, where's my watch? I haven't even got my watch on. Going into the FOMC today at 6 p.m. I will be going live for that, ladies and gentlemen, just to grab that madness in the chart. Okay? All I'm trying to say to you guys is to take trading, or whether you are investing in Bitcoin, DCA, and all this madness, take into consideration the bigger picture. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care about the bigger picture when I'm staring at the chart, looking to scalp a move from one moving average to the next. I got my money in good. I'm out. Happy days. Switch off my computer, go outside, and kick some leaves for the next 20 minutes until the next setup comes along. That's all that's interesting for me. But to the person that holds Bitcoin, working out as a leverage trade or as a person who is picking up Bitcoin to hold, every single day is a question. Do I add to my margin? Do I pick up more Bitcoin? What if, what if, what if? That's why you can't really challenge anyone that says Bitcoin to 8K or Bitcoin to 100K. I might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but what I'm saying is there's a better chance of Bitcoin hitting 8K given the current circumstances than there is Bitcoin hitting 100K in the current circumstances. See what I'm saying? Let's have a look at this poll. We are still at evens on the poll, ladies and gentlemen. 50-50. See what I mean? Why can't it go to 8K? Why can't it go to 100K? Do you see what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? Man, I need to calm down. I need to hit, I need my inhaler, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, let's just break down some charts. I've been ratting on at you guys for too long. Here we go. So look, here we are. We're back at the question yet again. Bitcoin, where's it going to go? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? FOMC play right here is happening as we speak. Let's roll over to the DXY. Oh, this bad boy right here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this guy right here. Getting ready to initiate a very interesting move. All right? A key measure of the dominance of the dollar is what the yen is doing. Why? Because the yen and the dollar, okay, are two of the lowest yielding assets, okay? Now, by the carry trade principle, a carry trade means that is you use low yielding assets, you get those, and then you go and buy higher yielding assets, okay? So in principle, you would get your dollars or your yen, convert those or borrow your dollar or yen, because that's where we are, like, you know, this is what the market is. Money's credit. Yeah? There ain't no bartering anymore. We can't exchange cows and pigs and sheep. That's where value was back in the day. Now it's credit. You need money? I don't have it. Here you go. Let me print some more. Credit. Happy days. All right? You take borrow low yielding assets, use that, buy high yielding like Aussie yen, and use the Aussie to buy stocks, commodities, Bitcoin. And then when it's time for you to take your money back, you sell your Aussie, give back the money you borrowed back into dollar, which then leads the dollar to move up. So this is a little practice that I do for some of the guys. If you pull up the DXY chart right here, all right? Let me just zoom in. Actually, yeah, let me just do this. Dominance of the dollar. And let me just zoom in on this bad boy. Just so you guys can see. Here we go. That's the yen. And let me change this to Aussie. Where's Aussie right now? Mad days. Here we go. Cool. DXY there. Expand that. Expand that. And let's make the chart big. That should be all good for you guys. Is that clear on your charts, ladies and gentlemen? Just so that you can see on your mobile phones. Let me know if it's all good. Happy days. Okay, price point. There's DXY. I'm going to get DXY up on the, let's go with the 240-minute time frame. DXY. No, I didn't even do that. Let's go on the daily for DXY. And let's pull up the Aussie right here. All right, then. Is this the 1 minute? That's the daily. Here we go. All right. So daily time frame on dollar and daily time frame for Aussie yen. All right. You can see that when you go back in the charts. All right. Have I got this right? I got this right. Man, I'm going to do this differently. Sorry about this, guys. This Brer, what is he doing? I do not like this zoom in feature. My God. There we go. My God, what am I doing? Okay, then. Stick with me on this, ladies and gentlemen. Just bear with me a sec. Here we go. If I add the DXY to this is what I'm saying. So Aussie yen and the DXY have a correlation. Okay? When Aussie is rising, DXY goes down. That means they're picking up assets. They've used the dollars to pick up Aussie to go and buy stocks, shares, you name it, commodities and what have you. Dollar goes down. When they start taking their profits, dollar starts to go up because they're transacting on the dollar. Now, we have had a little bit of madness lately, given that the dollar's been going up and the Aussie has been moving up at the same time. Okay? So we're at a very tricky point. Are they accumulating or are they getting rid of it? Because the dollar dominance is still going up. Euro's going down. GBP going down. Every asset against the dollar should be going down. Now, dollar's showing its strength right here, ladies and gentlemen. So if I get rid of the dominance of the dollar and we change it up to here, yeah, the market's open, but it ain't doing much. Let's be honest. The market is not doing much. Where are we at? Here we go. Where are we at with this? Let's have a look. Market ain't doing anything, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest now. Dollar dominance is sat on the side right there. And then even if you were to split this chart up and even bring Bitcoin into it, where are we going? Let's bring Bitcoin up and have a look at the dominance of Bitcoin and the dollar, sorry. Here we go. This is stressing a lot of you out, I know. Here we go. Bitcoin's dropped on the 1 minute time frame. Cool. Let's go to the hourly. There we are. All right, then. Let me increase that. Have a look at the price point. Change that value. Happy days. Is that good for you guys? Are we cool? This is Bitcoin's play right here. And then the dominance of the dollar. Let's bring that up on the 1 hour time frame just to understand and gauge the idea of commitment. Here we go. Cool. Right. Sorry about that. A little bit of housekeeping right there. Look, regardless of whether Bitcoin goes up or down, right now, it's irrelevant because the only thing that's going to move the markets now is the FOMC. Any movement on Bitcoin is just people rushing or Mr. Market Maker trying to trap traders up, okay? They will break a range. They will come back up into that range, okay? FOMC, if they're going to price it, I said it to you all yesterday. If Bitcoin can drop and come back down into these vector zones right here at 20 and go into this zone before FOMC, then I would be of the understanding that they're getting ready to move Bitcoin up and the market is going to be happy and absorb the idea that the Fed might be looking at slowing things down and they're maybe not concerned about the labor market. If the labor market can absorb the inflation, then the Fed's going to do its thing. But quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, the Fed is adamant that it needs to be robust with its approach to getting inflation down and making sure that it stays down because it doesn't look like it has peaked. Food crisis, energy crisis. These are all things that are going to inflate prices. The UK talking about a very cold winter. There's problems, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to get you to understand that institutional traders, hedge funds, they can't just drop their balances. They have to offload them. Only an article that came out not long ago by JP Morgan, talking about that they are reducing their equity balance. Now, institutional fund managers, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and all those guys, they usually split their portfolios in a 60-40 ratio, which means 60% is in stocks, commodities, Forex, and the remaining 40% is in bonds, okay? And the reason it's in bonds is so that they can diversify, all right? But the narrative is changing. The yields are going up. That means they're coming out of bonds. Cash seems to be king. Look what just happened on Bitcoin just a minute ago. Stop hunt rise, drop, come back down. Pull up the book map and understand this zone here. This is the book map for anybody new, okay? Yasus Strawhatos, do you think all this can reach an unbearable point and lead to hyperinflation? It's more stagflation. Inflation's going up, okay? Unemployment going up, growth going down. I'd say we'd need to be in a very bad stagflation before we get to hyperinflation. But then we just switch on the printers, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's not going to... I don't think they're going to do that to the dollar. As much as everyone's like, oh, the dollar is worthless and all of this. At the end of the day, I can still go and buy oil with dollars. I can still go buy coffee with dollars, orange juice. I can buy wheat with that. You've got this power shift right now with Russia trying to get people to buy in rubles. And then you've got these sanctions that are happening all over the place. It's a crazy time we're living in. So what does the outlook look like in the future? If the interest rates are going to continue to go up and there's no sense of them peaking out yet, ladies and gentlemen, how are you going to expect Bitcoin to move up? It's only $1 billion, $900 billion market cap, okay? A third of the market cap in crypto makes up some of the stocks that are traded on the Nasdaq. And if they ain't feeling the flavor of movement higher in the longer term because of interest rates, where do you think Bitcoin's going to end up, bro? That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, okay? Getting you into the mindset of thinking, okay, realistically, just because enough people talk about the idea of it going one place to the next, I don't think anyone else out there has said anything about Bitcoin being lower than 10K or maybe 12K, 13K. I'll go lower. I'll go lower and say Bitcoin could recover all the vector candles in the chart. Because at this point, ladies and gentlemen, for Bitcoin, let me just bring this out again. At this point here, let's go on the daily. Bitcoin in this zone is value. Where would you want people to start showing an interest if you were to offer something of value? If you price your valuable asset at 20,000, you're only going to be hitting a few people. If you offer it at 11, you might get some interest. If you offer it anything between 5 and 6, or maybe 5 and 8, for example, you might get a lot more people showing an interest. Because the average person might go and spend 5-6 grand on a car. He's going to use 20,000 to go and put a deposit maybe on a house. But he'll go and buy a car for 5K. He'll go and buy a watch for 5K. He'll go on holiday for 5K. So I think he'll have more people buying Bitcoin at 5K than you would have people buying 20. Because who's buying 20? We're talking about masses now. We're talking about Steve who walks down the road, who's walking his dog, bumps into you and says, I noticed you talk about that thing, that coin. It begins with a B. What is it? Yeah, Bitcoin. How much is that? It's 20K, bro. Pfft, forget that. I'm going to get that when it's much cheaper. Do you think it will go cheaper? Maybe. Oh, I'll wait until it goes down at least to like 50 cents. That's the logic. Now, Bitcoin to go down to that low, I mean, come on, man. We're talking, that is terrible for crypto. That would be a lot of money leaving crypto and something messed up would have to happen. Okay? But it's all about security at the end of the day. That's the only thing that can lead Bitcoin higher. It's your idea of security. Man, I'm talking too much breeze, man. Too much breeze. Let's have a look at what Bitcoin's doing right now. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, where you at? Yes, CBDC is coming, and that is an infinite printing process. It's sad. Here we go. What's Bitcoin doing? I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this madness in the chart right now. Let's just navigate elsewhere. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, mad love and respect, man. Thank you so much for being part of this stream and part of this rant. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe because I am going live again today before the FOMC. I ain't finishing the stream yet, but I'm letting you guys know that the FOMC stream later on, I'll be on at about 5:45 because it's being aired at 6 p.m. UK time. And I'll be doing exactly this where we're talking about price action of Bitcoin and assets across the board. Here's Euro USD right now, ladies and gentlemen, actually aggressively moving lower, leading me to understand that Dixie's going, yep, which something else you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen. Look at USDT. Has USDT pretty much given us the yield, that is? Has this pretty much given us percentage, whatever? Has it given us the heads up of where it's likely to end up? Could that be the possibility? Back up to the 7.5 zone again. You see, if the news comes out, any ounce of favorable news by the Fed today, ladies and gentlemen, okay, it will go up, but it will come back down because the same people that are at the charts with their little mouths get ready to press, I want to buy, 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 buy. I need to hear them say, yeah, it's good, and bang, commit the liquidity. For that small moment, they're in that trade with their money dead because they ain't getting rid of it because they've just heard the market or Mr. Jerome Powell say, we may not be that aggressive in December. Bang, he's in. They are projecting out because of what he said about December is great news for the long term. But interest rates are still high. But at that point in time, you're staying in your trade. That's why when you see hear good or bad news in the markets and the market reacts by initiating a shift up or a shift down, regardless of the news, it's the retail trader that is staying in the trade because he only makes a decision when it hurts. He doesn't make a decision when it's good. And that's why people struggle to pay themselves. Okay? That's the messed up thing about this game. It forces you to make a decision when things ain't doing good. But when it's going great, you sat there with 575% return on your leverage trade with Bitcoin. You are a G. You can go out now and project out what you're going to buy, what t-shirt you're going to go and get, how much money you're going to spend on the missus, buying her a bag, and you're waking up every day and you see that 500, it's trickling up to 600, and then the next morning it's down to 200. You feel like shit. Now you can't buy the Rolex, you can't buy Mrs. the bag, and now you can't go and spend that money that you want to. You can actually go and buy that pair of shoes that you were in two minds about, or you could actually go and buy that little gold bracelet that you were like, might be a little bit expensive, but a 220% return on my leverage trade with Bitcoin should be able to cover it. You then think about, well, it did go up to 500, so it'll probably go up again because it's moving. And then you leave it. And then what happens? It goes down to 50% and you feel you don't even feel bad. You're numb. You're sat there like a wet lemon thinking, what do I do? Do I even close it? I can't take 50. You can't take a 535% return on a leverage trade with Bitcoin. And you're in two minds. You're in two minds to do that. But at 50, you quickly snap it because you don't want to lose any money. That's BS, man. That's the BS. But don't get it twisted. It's hard. This game is all about metagame. It's all about the challenges, your character. Like, don't get it twisted. I've had trades on where I could have paid myself and I didn't. And I ended up giving half of it away. We do it. But if I say it to you guys, some of you might be impressionable and you might just get it off the whim. And trust me, it takes traders a long time to get to that stage. And if you can get it just like that, happy days, man. You're going to survive in this game. Let's have a look at what we've got over here. Right, Bitcoin. See, what? FOMC, US Brinks box, New York session. Time is, look, 10 to 2, which is 10 to 3 in the US. Sorry, it's an hour back. But we're going into the final stages at 10 a.m. in the New York market. Nothing's happened. How are you trading this? So on that principle, ladies and gentlemen, let me have a look at the votes. Still, end poll. There you go. 1,700 of you voted. And it says near enough 50-50. Some say yes, some say no. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what's happening right now. Some say yes to Bitcoin up. Some say no to Bitcoin down. Some say no to Bitcoin up. All right? There's always that 50-50 in the marketplace, ladies and gentlemen. Now listen. It's going to get tricky closer towards the FOMC, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just bring this bad boy up. Sort this out here, man. There we go. Prior to FOMC, you might see a little bit of a move going into New York. But the FOMC is coming out when London closes. Now, this is important. When London closes, that means London, in principle, will have time to react tomorrow to whatever is being discussed by the FOMC. The US is the only market open at 6 p.m. UK time when they declare the FOMC result. So that means there are two more reactions. Asia tonight, UK tomorrow. All right? So it's going to be very volatile in the New York session. Just be careful. Don't play the game of I'll put an order above price or an order below price and hope that one of them gets hit. What happens when they both get hit? Because that's how fast price can move. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, you know what the flavor is. Be sure to like and subscribe. Get with the Pattern Watchers Discord. And if you want to learn more about the hybrid system, go check out the Patreon. Pinned to the top of the chat is the access where you can actually dive into more understanding of the hybrid system. You get to see me doing live trades. I've spoken about this funded trader program that I passed. I've spoken about it there. So you get to hear about more on that as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll be checking in with you all 5:45 this evening. So in the next 3-4 hours to bring in the FOMC. Mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of yourselves. Peace.